Liberty Nation with Tim Donner.
Success in politics has always required vision beyond the latest crisis and thinking beyond one's most extreme instincts. For Democrats, a striking inability to accomplish either fundamental task has headed them inexorably toward a ditch. Impeachment has become the emblem of the left's shallow one-step thinking. We don't approve of and refuse to accept the results of an election that placed a despised villain in the highest seat of power. And so, instead of taking stock on why this happened and formulating the arguments to try and win back the voters who abandoned us and delivered this unspeakable result, we will simply reverse the results of the election by removing Donald Trump from office and denying him a shot at re-election. This anti-intellectual approach among the leftist intelligentsia is ironic to its core because, think about it, the consistent complaint advanced by the left against the right is that conservatism, constitutionalism is inherently anti-intellectual. But this one-step knee-jerk thinking has in fact long been a consistent thread throughout the highest ranks of leftist politicians and pundits, even though the leftist culture is so generously populated by highbrow Ivy League academics who cut their teeth debating tenured professors in the faculty lounge and lecturing on lofty ideals from their ivory towers far from the madding crowd. They say they're deep thinkers, yet they engage in economic and social policies that are formulated through not just one-step thinking, but willful ignorance of history. While constitutionally based policies so often require multiple stages of thought and reliance on what history has proven. Here's what I mean. Exhibit A is gun control, fast becoming an incendiary issue in Virginia and likely elsewhere. We'll talk with Scott Cosenza about it later in the program. The leftist view is that guns are responsible for murders, so we should simply try to outlaw as many of them as possible. Whenever a high-profile murder or mass murder occurs, the left simply calls for more gun control laws to fix future instances of the problem, no matter whether they would have changed any of the outcomes from the past. Constitutionalists favoring a strict interpretation of the Second Amendment look at the fact that more gun control applies not just to criminals, but to the vast majority of gun owners who are law-abiding, thus weakening their ability to protect themselves. But of course, criminals, by definition, do not respect or obey the law. That's why they're criminals. Therefore, they won't abide by stricter laws, but law-abiding gun owners will. And therefore, more gun control actually creates a less safe society. The left has made a single calculation there to reach its policy position. The other side has made 6 calculations. Which sounds more intellectually based to you? Then there's tax policy and reform, which stands as the signature achievement of Trump and Republicans, as we so often consider how to fix the unacceptable shortfall in government revenues caused by runaway spending. The left's knee-jerk reaction is to simply try and raise taxes on the easiest targets, ignoring the root of the problem, the cascading consequences of higher taxes, and the fact that it doesn't even begin to solve our massive budget deficits. One calculation. Constitutionalists, on the other hand, will make the argument that higher taxes burden job creators with higher costs and less profit, which means they create less jobs, which results in more private sector unemployment, less tax revenues flowing to the government, lower economic growth, and higher deficits. 6 calculations. Then consider the issue of health care. Obama and his leftist cohorts saw some 15% of Americans without health insurance and said the solution was to simply force the 85% who are insured to pay for the uninsured. And now, some of the Democrats' leading presidential candidates propose to terminate all private health insurance and grant the government full control. Constitutionalists, on the other hand, have thought far more deeply about this and know that government-run health care will ultimately lower quality, raise costs, ration care, and squeeze health care providers to the breaking point. Thus, they favor the same mechanism for health care reform that works in every other area of the economy, of the private economy. The free market, with ideas like expanded health savings accounts, tort reform, small business cooperatives, and the elimination of barriers to purchasing insurance across state lines. Problems with illegal immigration. Just have the president unilaterally declare some hundreds of thousands of previously illegal aliens as legal. But the most potent example of the left's one-step thinking remains the 45th president. Trump is a threat to all we hold dear, thus we must remove him from office by whatever means avail themselves. In all of this, the single-step left can be counted on for one thing. The one step they take on any given policy will draw on their most extreme instincts and be centered around providing them and the central state more control, in spite of the demonstrable, spectacular, and repeated failures of their political philosophy. I guess we shouldn't be surprised, because thinking through proven and unintended consequences requires more than one step. So the next time you see or hear the left spew their hatred at Trump, conservatives, or anything resembling a free market, or God forbid, free people, remember that their positions on most every issue are based on just a single thought. If nothing else, it will make things easier for simple-minded constitutionalists and conservatives to understand.